You've heard about how this algae from Lake Okeechobee water releases. It's impacting tourism, the fishing industry, the environment. Now think about this. Imagine you shell out thousands of extra dollars to enjoy a beautiful waterfront view, only to see that beautiful water is now filled with this gross algae.
Yeah, 4 in Your Corner's Tony Sadiku is looking into the major impact that water releases may be having on the value of your home.
With more miles of canals than Venice, Italy, the city of Cape Coral boasts beautiful waterfront properties like this one. Check it out. A home like this costs about $500,000 on average in the Cape. But a study done by Florida Realtors shows the value of your home may be higher if the water didn't look like this. Tom Demogeny showing me the water behind his home isn't the most attractive to swim in.
Yes, it would be nicer if the canal looked somewhat similar to my pool. But that's unrealistic even in the best of times.
He lives on a Gulf Access canal on the Cape where he says discharges from Lake Okeechobee have made a difference in the clarity of his water over the years. In some places, turning the water green with algae.
When it's real bad, we can't see anything.
Tom says algae hasn't gotten to his part of the canal yet, but he knows he's not immune.
Yeah, it probably could be here at some point. And people like me and all my neighbors would not look kindly on that.
Because he knows algae isn't just hurting the water, it could also hurt his investment. Property values dropped more than $500 million in Lake County between 2010 and 2013 because of the releases, according to a Florida Realtors study. But property values depend on many factors like location and crime and the market, not just water quality. So it's hard to say that just because there's algae in your canal, your home is going to be worth less. But Florida Senator Bill Nelson says releases are likely still affecting home values.
Well, if you have a river that completely is the oxygen's out of it because of excess algae, then that's a dead river, and that eventually will hurt property values.
And water releases don't only affect you if you have property. When property values drop, so does revenue for city and county governments to build parks, schools, and employ police officers, for example. So we asked Senator Nelson what's being done to secure the future of your investment.
We're having that moment not liking the algae that we see in the river, but the projects are underway.
The two main projects in the works, building a reservoir to store water south of Lake O and fixing the aging Herbert Hoover Dike. The goal is to minimize how much water the Army Corps of Engineers has to release into the Caloosahatchee when water levels get too high in the lake. So what's the holdup? Many of you sharing with 4 in Your Corner your frustrations, your pictures, and your questions, wondering why the algae keeps coming back year after year. Many of you, like Tom, saying it's about time something is done to protect our environment.
The government moves at a pace of frozen molasses. This is not a case where they can move at frozen molasses. They need to get it going the day before yesterday.
Governor Rick Scott has said lack of federal funding has been the biggest delay. Now, with newly appropriated money from the Trump administration, he says projects to fix the dike could be complete as early as 2022.
Last week, with the Trump administration finally making the commitment to get the dike fixed, it's sort of the first time the federal government's shown up to be a real partner.
When these projects are complete, Tom, who's also a realtor, says it'll bring a boost to the housing market in Southwest Florida.
It's a one-time anomaly we can deal with, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's algae bloom, we can get over it. If it's continuous, we will be having, I believe, a different conversation.
The conversation now is real estate is still a thriving business locally despite the water woes. We checked a multiple listing service, and Cape Coral homes have gone up in price almost 35% since 3 years ago. Home values in Fort Myers are up 22% in the same time. So I have some home prices gone up even though water quality continues to suffer. Tom says supply and demand. More people are moving to Southwest Florida every year.
It starts with tourism, and good tourism leads to good real estate sales.
Basically, he's saying if more people are afraid to buy because of algae in their backyard, that means more properties will be on the market and property values take a hit. Tom says he's seen that play out. He's seen people visit Southwest Florida looking to move here, only to be turned off by the fluorescent green algae and the stench that comes with it.
We've lost a couple of sales. If the algae got much worse, I think that people would start looking elsewhere.
A Cape Coral resident for nearly 2 decades, Tom says he's not looking to move anywhere else.
It should be the worst that it's ever going to be.
Tom says even though the canal water is not crystal clear, he's confident with cleaner water in the works and relatively cheaper waterfront home prices compared to other cities, there's still a lot of promise for your investment.
If you can tolerate it now, within 8 to 10 years, we should have nice water, which is going to increase our quality of life, and it's going to obviously increase the value of our properties.
We know the water quality conversation will continue for years to come as government officials work to figure out how to best manage the lake and our waterways. But you can always count on 4 in Your Corner to bring you the very latest information every step of the way. In Lee County, I'm Tony Sadiku, Fox 4 in Your Corner.